The alarm bells rang through the halls of the Terran Defense Council building in Geneva. The sound echoed off the metal walls like thunder, making everyone inside stop what they were doing. General Marcus Stone walked quickly down the corridor, his heavy boots making loud sounds on the floor. His face was hard and angry, like a man who had seen too much and was tired of it all. He pushed open the large doors to the council chamber. Inside, 12 people sat around a round table. These were the most important humans in the galaxy. They made the big decisions for Earth and all the human colonies scattered across space. Today, they would make the biggest decision in human history. "The vote is final," General Stone said as he took his seat. All 12 council members agree. "We are done with the galactic hegemony. We are done with their rules. We are done with being treated like animals in a zoo." Dr. Sarah Kim, the head of Human Science Projects, looked at the papers in front of her. Her hands shook a little. "Marcus, you know what this means? If we do this, there is no going back. The soul quarantine field has never been tested on this scale. We could be cutting ourselves off from the galaxy forever." "Good," Stone said, his voice cold. "Let them think we are gone. Let them think we failed like all the other species they have crushed under their boots." The galactic hegemony had ruled space for over 3,000 years. They were made up of 7 different alien races, all working together to control trade, technology, and resources across the galaxy. When humans first left Earth and met them, the aliens seemed friendly. They offered to help humanity join the galactic community. They gave humans some basic technology and showed them how to travel between stars, but it was all a lie. The aliens did not see humans as equals. They saw them as useful tools. Human soldiers were sent to fight in wars they did not understand. For causes that did not help Earth, human workers were given the dangerous jobs that aliens did not want to do. Human scientists had their discoveries taken away and given to alien companies. Worst of all, human colonies were told what they could and could not do by alien governors who had never even visited Earth. For 50 years, humans tried to work within the system. They followed the rules. They paid the taxes. They sent their young people to die in alien wars. They hoped things would get better. They were wrong. The breaking point came 6 months ago. The hegemony had ordered Earth to give up its entire supply of rare earth metals. These metals were needed to build the computers and machines that kept human society running. Without them, billions of people would suffer. When Earth refused, the aliens sent a fleet of warships to orbit the planet. The message was clear: obey, or be destroyed. That was when General Stone and the Council decided enough was enough. "The field generators are ready," reported Admiral Chun, the head of the Human Space Navy. "All 15 stations around the solar system are online and waiting for the command. Once we activate them, everything inside the field will be invisible to the outside galaxy. No ships can get in. No signals can get out. We will be completely cut off." "What about our colonies?" asked Dr. Kim. "We have settlements on 12 different worlds. What happens to them?" "They knew this day might come," Stone replied. "We have been preparing for this for 10 years. Every human colony has been given secret orders. They know what to do." The truth was more complicated than that. The Council had been planning this day for much longer than 10 years. In secret, human scientists had been working on technologies that the aliens did not know about. Human ships had been exploring parts of space that were marked as empty on galactic maps. Human colonies had been building hidden bases and factories. Everything was ready. Stone stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over Geneva. The city was busy with normal life. People walked on the streets. Cars moved through traffic. Children played in parks. None of them knew that their world was about to change forever. "Sir," said a young officer who had just entered the room, "we are getting messages from the hegemony fleet. Ambassador Cathara wants to speak with you directly." Stone smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Put her through." The large screen on the wall came to life. On it appeared the face of Ambassador Cathara, one of the Xanthari race. The Xanthari looked like tall, thin humans, but their skin was blue and they had 4 arms instead of 2. Cathara had been the main alien representative to Earth for 5 years. She thought she understood humans. She was wrong. "General Stone," Cathara said, her voice smooth and confident, "I hear there has been some misunderstanding about our latest resource request. Surely we can work this out like civilized beings." "There is no misunderstanding," Stone replied. "Earth rejects your demand. We reject all your demands. We are withdrawing from the galactic hegemony effective immediately." Cathara laughed. It was a sound like wind chimes in a breeze. "My dear General, you cannot be serious. Humans depend on galactic trade for survival. Your technology, your medicine, your food production systems, all of it comes from hegemony sources. Without us, your species will be back to living in caves within a generation." "We will see about that," Stone said. "This is foolishness," Cathara continued. "Even if you could somehow survive on your own, where would you go? This is the only star system you control. The galaxy is vast, but every habitable world belongs to someone. Every trade route is monitored. Every resource is claimed. You have nowhere to run." Dr. Kim looked nervous. Some of what the alien was saying was true. Earth did depend on alien technology for many things. But she also knew about the secret projects, the hidden research, the new discoveries that aliens did not know humans had made. Still, it was scary to take such a big risk. "Ambassador Stone, Sod, in 30 minutes Earth will transmit its final message to the galactic hegemony. After that, consider all treaties and agreements between our species to be ended." "You are making a terrible mistake," Cathara warned. "The hegemony has been patient with human stubbornness, but this goes too far. If you proceed with this madness, we will have no choice but to treat Earth as a rogue system. Your ships will be destroyed on sight. Your colonies will be disbanded. Your people will be scattered across the galaxy as refugees." "Our colonies can take care of themselves," Stone said. "As for our ships, you are welcome to try destroying them. You might be surprised by what happens." The alien's expression changed. For the first time, she looked uncertain. "What are you talking about?" Stone cut the connection without answering. He turned back to the council. "It is time. Send the message to every human colony, every human ship, every human station in the galaxy. Tell them the plan is now active. Tell them Earth is going dark, and they are on their own." Dr. Kim pressed a series of buttons on her console. Across the galaxy, secret communication channels came to life. Messages went out in codes that only humans knew. On distant worlds, in hidden bases, in ships flying through empty space, humans received the signal they had been waiting for. The isolation protocol was beginning. "Message sent," Dr. Kim reported. "All colonies confirm receipt. They are beginning phase 1 of their instructions." "Good," Stone said. "Admiral Chun, prepare the final transmission to the hegemony. Make sure every alien government receives it. Let them know exactly what we think of their empire." Admiral Chun nodded and began typing on his computer. The message was simple but clear. It had been written months ago, waiting for this moment. Now it would be broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. "Transmission ready. Sir, send it across the galaxy." On thousands of alien worlds, the same message appeared on communication screens. Government officials, military commanders, and business leaders all read the same words: "To the galactic hegemony and all member species. After 50 years of attempting to work within your system, humanity has concluded that peaceful coexistence is impossible. Your empire treats smaller species as slaves and resources to be exploited. You demand obedience while offering only scraps in return. You speak of civilization while practicing tyranny. We reject your authority. We withdraw from all treaties and agreements. We owe you nothing. We will pay you nothing. We want nothing from you. Do not look for us. Do not follow us. We are done playing by your rules. This is our final communication. Goodbye." The message was signed simply. Earth on the hegemony capital world of Nexus Prime. Emergency meetings began immediately. Military leaders demanded action. Politicians argued about the proper response. Business owners worried about lost profits from human colonies. But they all agreed on one thing. This rebellion had to be crushed quickly, before other species got similar ideas. Fleet Admiral Zorthan of the Hegemony Navy was given orders to take a battle group to Earth immediately. His ships were the most powerful in the galaxy. His weapons could destroy entire planets. He was confident that the humans would surrender as soon as they saw his fleet arriving. Back on Earth, General Stone watched the alien fleet moving toward the solar system on his tracking screens. 50 warships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. Or so the aliens thought. "They are right on schedule," he said. To Admiral Chun, "How long until they reach the outer system?" 6 hours, Chun replied. "Should we begin the evacuation of civilian areas?" "No need," Stone said. "They will never make it that far. Are the field generators ready?" "All stations. Report ready and waiting." "Then let us show them what happens when you push humans too far." Stone walked to the main control console. On it was a single red button, protected by a clear cover. He lifted the cover and placed his hand on the button. Around the room, the other council members did the same at their stations. This was too important for one person to control. It required all of them working together. "On my count," Stone said. 3, 2, 1, activate. All 12 council members pressed their buttons at the same time. Around the solar system, 15 massive machines came to life. They had been built in secret over the past 10 years, hidden on asteroids and small moons where alien sensors would not detect them. Each machine was the size of a small city, powered by fusion reactors that could run for centuries. When they activated, space itself began to change. The Sol quarantine field was based on technology that aliens did not know humans possessed. It created a bubble around the entire solar system that bent light and energy in impossible ways. From the outside, it would look like empty space. No sensors could penetrate it. No signals could escape it. The solar system would simply disappear from the galaxy. Admiral Zorthan was reviewing his attack plans when his sensor officer called out in alarm. "Sir, the human system ... it is gone." "What do you mean, gone?" "I mean it is not there anymore. Our sensors show empty space where the Sol system should be. No planets, no star, nothing." Zorthan rushed to the sensor station and looked at the readings himself. It was impossible, but the evidence was clear. The Sol system had vanished completely. Not destroyed. Destroyed planets left debris. This was different. It was as if the system had never existed at all. "Run a full diagnostic on all sensors," he ordered. "This has to be a malfunction." The diagnostic took an hour. All systems were working perfectly. The Sol system was simply gone. Zorthan sent probes to where the system should be. They found nothing but empty space. He ordered his ships to the exact coordinates where Earth had been. They arrived at a patch of vacuum with no trace that a solar system had ever been there. The news reached the hegemony capital within hours. Scientists and military experts struggled to explain what had happened. Some thought the humans had destroyed their own system rather than surrender. Others believed it was some kind of weapon that had backfired. A few wondered if humans had technology that the hegemony did not understand. Ambassador Cathara stood before the Hegemony Council and delivered her report. The 12 most powerful beings in the galaxy listened in silence as she described the impossible disappearance of humanity. "What is your assessment?" asked High Chancellor Mordeth, the leader of the hegemony. "The humans have clearly destroyed themselves rather than submit to our authority," Cathara said. "It is unfortunate but not unexpected. Their species was always too proud and stubborn to accept their proper place in the galactic order. This is what happens when primitive races attempt to challenge their betters. And their colonies? Without support from Earth, they will collapse within a few years. Some may try to resist, but they lack the resources and technology to survive on their own. We should wait for them to come begging for help, then accept their surrender on our terms." The council agreed. The human problem had solved itself. Earth was gone, and the remaining human colonies would soon fall into line. It was a perfect outcome. The hegemony's authority was maintained, and they had not had to waste resources on a long war. Within a week, the galaxy had moved on. Trade routes were redistributed to alien companies. Human territories were divided among hegemony members. The brief human rebellion was already becoming a footnote in galactic history, a cautionary tale about what happened to species that forgot their place. But inside the soul quarantine field, humanity was far from finished. They had work to do. 50 years had passed since the humans disappeared. The galaxy had forgotten about Earth and moved on to other concerns. New wars were fought, new trade agreements were signed. New species were brought into the hegemony fold. The human rebellion was ancient history, studied only by scholars who wrote boring papers about failed civilizations. Captain Vexthal of the Xanthari Navy had never seen a human. He was born 30 years after Earth vanished, and to him, humans were just another extinct species. And there were many of those in galactic history. Races that reached for the stars but could not handle the responsibility that came with it. The hegemony had files on hundreds of such failures. Today, Vexthal was flying his ship, the Dominion's Edge, through a sector of space that most people avoided. The Kepler 442 system was officially listed as empty and worthless. It had a few rocky planets that nobody wanted and an old star that would burn out in 1 billion years. The only reason anyone came here was to use it as a shortcut to more interesting places, but Vexthal was not taking a shortcut. He was here because of something strange his sensors had detected 3 weeks ago. "Sir," called out his science officer, a young Krillian named Zethmar. The Krillians looked like large insects with too many eyes, but they were excellent at analyzing data. "I'm picking up those same energy readings again. They are coming from the third planet." Vexthal looked at his display screen. The third planet in the Kepler 442 system was supposed to be a dead rock with no atmosphere. But his sensors were showing energy patterns that did not belong on a dead world. Organized energy patterns, technology. "Are you certain those readings are not coming from our own ship?" Vexthal asked. He had been a captain for 15 years and had learned to be careful about sensor ghosts and equipment failures. "I have run the diagnostic 17 times, Zethmar replied. "The energy signature is definitely coming from the planet's surface. And sir, there is something else. I am detecting traces of atmospheric modification. Someone has been terraforming that world." Terraforming was the process of changing a planet to make it suitable for life. It required massive amounts of technology, energy, and time. Only the most advanced species in the galaxy could do it properly. And according to official records, nobody had permission to terraform anything in this system. "That is impossible," said Vexthal. "This entire sector is restricted. The Hegemony Council banned all development here after the territorial dispute 60 years ago. No one has authorization to terraform these worlds." "Sir," his communications officer spoke up. She was a tall, green-skinned Valdorian with 4 arms. "Should I report this to Fleet Command?" Unauthorized terraforming is a serious violation of galactic law. Vexthal thought about it. He could report what they had found and let someone else deal with it. That would be the safe thing to do. But he was curious. In 15 years of commanding ships, he had never discovered anything truly interesting. This could be his chance to make a real discovery. "Not yet," he decided. "Let us investigate first. I want to know what we are dealing with before we involve the bureaucrats." The Dominion's Edge moved closer to the planet. As they got nearer, the sensor readings became clearer and more disturbing. The planet was not just being terraformed, it was nearly finished. Someone had built a complete atmosphere, planted forests, and created lakes and rivers. The energy readings were coming from what looked like cities and industrial facilities. "Sir," Zethmar said, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly, "I am reading artificial structures across the entire northern continent, large ones. This is not a small operation. Someone has built a major colony here." "But who?" Vexthal muttered. "Every species in the hegemony is accounted for. Colony ships cannot just disappear. And the amount of resources needed for this project would require the support of an entire government. His security chief, a massive creature called Thurvik from the warrior race known as the Gorvani, growled from his station. Perhaps it is. Pirates, or criminals hiding from hegemony justice. Pirates do not have the technology for planetary terraforming, Vexthal said. This required advanced science and massive industrial capacity. Only a few species in the galaxy can do this kind of work. As they approached the planet, more details became visible on their screens. The cities were built in a style that none of them recognized. The buildings were arranged in patterns that seemed strange and alien. The architecture was unlike anything in hegemony databases. "I am detecting ships in orbit around the planet," reported the sensor officer. "Small vessels, but they are using some kind of stealth technology. Our sensors can barely detect them. Stealth technology was rare and expensive. Most species could not afford it, and those who could usually saved it for military vessels. Why would colonists need stealth ships?" "Sir," the communications officer called out suddenly, "I am receiving a transmission. It is on an open channel, but the language is not in our database." "Put it through the universal translator," Vexthal ordered. The translator was a piece of hegemony technology that could understand almost any language in the galaxy. It had been programmed with the communication patterns of thousands of different species. There were very few languages it could not handle. The speakers crackled to life, and a voice spoke in galactic standard. But the words were strange, and the accent was unlike anything any of them had heard before. "Unknown vessel, you are approaching restricted space. Please state your identity and purpose." Vexthal looked around his bridge. His crew seemed as confused as he was. The voice sounded almost familiar, but he could not place it. There was something about the way the words were pronounced that reminded him of something from his academy training. "This is Captain Vexthal of the hegemony vessel Dominion's Edge," he replied. "This system is not listed as restricted in our navigation database. We are conducting a routine survey mission." There was a pause. Then the voice came back, and this time it sounded amused. "Captain, your database is 50 years out of date. This system has been under development for quite some time. We suggest you turn around and leave immediately." "Under development by whom?" Vexthal demanded. "This sector is under hegemony jurisdiction. No species has authorization for development here." Another pause. When the voice returned, the amusement was gone. "Captain, you are not authorized to be here. Leave now, or we will escort you out." Vexthal felt his temper rising. He was a captain in the hegemony navy. No unknown colonists could order him around, no matter how advanced their technology seemed to be. "I am a representative of the galactic hegemony," he said firmly. "I have the authority to investigate any unauthorized activity in this sector. You will identify yourself immediately, or I will consider you to be in violation of galactic law." "The galactic hegemony," the voice said, and now it definitely sounded amused again. "Well, that brings back memories." Before Vexthal could respond, his sensor officer started shouting warnings. "Sir, ship approaching fast. It came out of nowhere." On the main screen, a vessel appeared that made everyone on the bridge fall silent. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The ship was sleek and dark, with no visible weapons or engines, but it moved with impossible grace and speed. It was about half the size of the Dominion's Edge, but something about it made it seem much more dangerous. "Where did it come from?" Vexthal asked. "I do not know," Zephmar replied, all of his eyes focused on his instruments. "It was not there, and then it was. Our sensors did not detect it approaching." The unknown ship moved to a position directly in front of them, blocking their path to the planet. It made no threatening moves, but its presence was clearly a warning. "This is your final warning," the voice said over the communications channel. "Leave this system immediately." Vexthal made a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. "All weapons prepare to fire," he ordered. "I will not be intimidated by colonists with stolen technology." His weapons officer, another Xanthari named Kylefin, looked uncertain. Sir, we do not know what kind of defenses they have. Perhaps we should call for backup first. One small ship against a hegemony cruiser? Vexthal laughed. Fire a warning shot across their bow. Let them know we mean business. The Dominion's Edge fired a single plasma bolt that passed just in front of the unknown ship. It was meant as a warning, a show of force to make the colonists back down. Instead, something impossible happened. The unknown ship did not move. It did not fire back. Instead, the Dominion's Edge simply stopped working. Every system on the ship died at once. The engines went quiet, the lights went out. The artificial gravity stopped functioning, and everyone started floating in the darkness. Emergency power did not come on. The backup systems did not activate. The ship was completely dead in space. What happened? Vexthal shouted into the darkness. I do not know, came Zethmara's voice from somewhere in the black. Everything just stopped. All at once. This should not be possible. A few minutes later, the lights came back on. The gravity returned. The ship's systems reactivated. But they were no longer in control. The Dominion's Edge was moving toward the planet, guided by some invisible force. Sir, the helmsman called out, I cannot control the ship. Something is pulling us in. On the communications channel, the voice spoke again, but this time it did not sound amused. It sounded tired. Captain Vexthal, you have just learned the difference between a warning and a threat. Your ship is now under our control. Do not attempt to resist or send distress signals. You and your crew will not be harmed if you cooperate. This is impossible, Vexthal said. No technology in the galaxy can disable a hegemony warship like this. No technology in the galaxy that you know about, the voice corrected. You are about to learn that the galaxy is much larger and more complicated than your hegemony taught you. The Dominion's Edge was pulled into orbit around the planet. Through the main screen, Vexthal could see the surface more clearly now. The cities were huge and advanced, with gleaming towers and vast industrial complexes. Orbital platforms surrounded the planet like a metal ring. Ships moved between them in organized patterns. This was not a small colony, this was a major civilization. Sir, Zethmar said quietly, I am analyzing the architecture and technology visible on the planet's surface. The design patterns are strange, but there are elements that seem familiar. The orbital platforms use construction techniques that I have seen before, but I cannot remember where. Where? Vexthal demanded. Zethmar checked his historical databases, running comparison algorithms between what he was seeing and everything. In the ship's memory banks? When the results came back, all of his eyes went wide with shock. Sir, this is impossible, but the construction style matches historical records from the human colonies. But that cannot be right. Humans disappeared 50 years ago. They destroyed themselves rather than submit to hegemony authority. The voice on the communications channel spoke again, and this time there was definitely laughter in it. Destroyed ourselves? Is that what they told you? Captain, prepare to be educated about what really happened 50 years ago, and prepare to learn what humans have been doing while the hegemony thought we were gone. A docking tube extended from one of the orbital platforms and attached itself to the Dominion's Edge. Through the airlock came 3 figures in advanced environmental suits. When they removed their helmets, Vexthal saw faces that he recognized from old historical files. They were human faces. But these humans looked different from the old records. They were taller and stronger. Their eyes had a strange brightness to them. Their movements were too quick and too precise. These were not the same primitive beings that had vanished 50 years ago. Welcome to New Terra, said the leader, a woman with short brown hair and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. I am Commander Sarah Chun of the Terran Expeditionary Force. You are now our guests, whether you want to be or not. But you are extinct, Vexthal said weakly. The humans destroyed themselves. Earth is gone. Commander Chen smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. Earth closed its doors, Captain. That does not mean we stopped existing. It just means we stopped playing by your rules. For 50 years, we have been very busy. And now you are going to learn exactly what we have been busy doing." Vexthel looked around his bridge at his crew. They all had the same expression of shock and fear. In one day, everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had been proven wrong. Humans were not extinct. They had technology that could disable hegemony warships without firing a shot. They had built advanced colonies in forbidden space. And worst of all, they had been doing it all in secret for 50 years. "Take us to your command center," Commander Chun ordered. "It is time for you to see what happens when you underestimate humanity." As they were led off their own ship by their human captors, Vexthel realized that this discovery would change everything. The hegemony had made a terrible mistake 50 years ago when they let the humans disappear. They had thought they were getting rid of a problem. Instead, they had created something much worse. They had given humanity 50 years to prepare for revenge. Commander Sarah Chun walked through the corridors of the research station, New Horizon, with Captain Vexthel and his crew following behind her. The alien captain kept looking around in amazement and fear. Everything he saw challenged what he thought. He knew about human technology. The walls of the station were made from materials he did not recognize. They seemed to shimmer slightly, as if they were alive. The lighting came from panels that gave off a warm, natural glow, unlike the harsh artificial lights used on hegemony ships. The air smelled clean and fresh, like a forest after rain. But what disturbed Vexthel most were the humans they passed in the corridors. They moved with a fluid grace that seemed impossible. Some of them were clearly enhanced with cybernetic implants that integrated seamlessly with their biological parts. Others looked completely normal until they turned their heads too far or moved their arms at angles that should have been impossible. "You have been modifying yourselves," Vexthel said. It was not a question. "We have been improving ourselves," Chun corrected. 50 years of isolation gave us time to work on projects that the hegemony would never have allowed. Genetic enhancement, cybernetic integration, neural networking, life extension. We have become better than we were. They entered a large chamber with windows that looked out at the planet below. The view was breathtaking. Cities of gleaming metal and living wood stretched across continents. Massive industrial complexes worked day and night, producing goods and materials. In the distance, Vexthel could see what looked like space elevators reaching up from the surface to orbital platforms. "This is impossible," Zethmar whispered. "The amount of resources needed to build all of this would require the combined efforts of dozens of worlds. No single species could accomplish this in 50 years. "You are right," Chun said. "No single species could do this, but we did not remain a single species." She pressed a control on the wall, and holographic displays appeared in the air around them. The displays showed star charts, population figures, industrial statistics, and fleet compositions. The numbers were staggering. "When Earth closed its doors, we did not just hide," Chun explained. "We expanded. In 50 years, we have established colonies on 147 worlds. We have built industrial complexes that dwarf anything the hegemony possesses. We have developed technologies that make your most advanced systems look like children's toys." Vexthel stared at the displays. According to the charts, human space now covered a region larger than some entire hegemony sectors. But none of it showed up on any galactic maps. It was as if an entire civilization had been built in the shadows. "How is this possible?" he asked. "Our sensors would have detected such massive expansion. Our trade networks would have noticed the resource movements. Our intelligence services would have found evidence." Chun smiled. "Your sensors only detect what we allow them to detect. Your trade networks only see what we want them to see. Your intelligence services only find what we choose to leave for them to find." She touched another control, and the displays changed to show ship designs. Vexthel had never seen vessels like these. They were sleek and organic-looking, as if they had been grown rather than built. Some were massive, larger than hegemony, dreadnoughts. Others were small and fast, designed for purposes he could not guess. Stealth technology was just the beginning, Chun continued. We developed quantum phase shifting, dimensional folding, and perception filters. We can make our ships invisible to every sensor system in the galaxy. We can make our colonies appear to be empty planets. We can travel through space without leaving any trace that we were ever there. But why? Vexthal demanded, why hide? Why not announce your return and rejoin galactic civilization? Chun's expression hardened. Because galactic civilization, as you call it, is built on oppression and exploitation. The hegemony treats smaller species as slaves and resources. We experienced that firsthand for 50 years before we decided we had enough. She gestured to another display that showed historical records. Images of human soldiers dying in alien wars. Human workers laboring in dangerous conditions for alien companies. Human scientists having their discoveries stolen and credited to alien researchers. We tried to work within your system, Chun said. We followed your rules. We paid your taxes. We sent our young people to die for your causes. What did we get in return? Contempt, exploitation, the constant threat that if we did not obey, you would destroy us. Thurvik, the Gorvani security chief, growled at this. The hegemony brings order and prosperity to the galaxy. Without central authority, there would be chaos and war. Order for whom? Chun asked. Prosperity for whom? The hegemony benefits only its founding members. Everyone else exists to serve their interests. She touched the controls again, and the displays showed more recent information. Surveillance footage of hegemony forces crushing rebellions on distant worlds. Economic data showing how resources flowed from poor systems to rich ones. Military reports describing the suppression of species that had tried to assert their independence. This is what your order looks like from the outside, Chun said. Oppression disguised as civilization, theft disguised as trade, murder disguised as peacekeeping. Vexthal wanted to argue, but the evidence was overwhelming. He had seen some of these events in official reports, but they had been described very differently. The hegemony called them peacekeeping operations and economic development programs. But from the human perspective, they looked like conquest and exploitation. So you decided to build your own civilization, he said. We decided to build something better, Chin replied. A civilization based on cooperation instead of domination. A system where every species has a voice instead of just the powerful ones. A galaxy where technological advancement serves everyone, not just the elite. And how many species are part of this new civilization? Asked Zethmar. Chun smiled. More than you might think. We were not the only ones who grew tired of hegemony rule. Over the past 50 years, 17 different species have secretly joined our alliance. Some came to us as refugees from hegemony oppression. Others came as traitors who grew to trust us. A few came as former enemies who learned that we offered them something better than conquest. The displays changed again to show representatives of different alien species. Some Vexthal recognized as minor members of the hegemony who had disappeared over the years. The official record said they had died out from disease or natural disasters. Apparently, the official records were wrong. The Kelmari mining consortium that supposedly died from a plague 20 years ago? Chun pointed to one of the displays. They are alive and well, running advanced manufacturing facilities in our territory. The Vexenal Exploration Guild that supposedly lost their homeworld to an asteroid impact? They are mapping new regions of space for our expansion efforts. This is treason, Vexthal said weakly. These species were under hegemony protection. These species were under hegemony control, Chun corrected. There is a difference. We offered them something the hegemony never could. Freedom. A door opened and 3 more humans entered the chamber. These looked even more modified than the others. One had skin that seemed to shift colors like a chameleon. Another had extra arms that moved independently of her primary limbs. The third had eyes that glowed with an inner light. Commander, said the one with glowing eyes, we have finished analyzing their ship systems and databases. The intelligence is quite interesting. Share it with our guests, Chun ordered. The modified human touched a device on his wrist, and new displays appeared. These showed detailed scans of the Dominion's Edge and its crew. Every system on the ship had been analyzed and cataloged. Every piece of equipment had been examined. Every crew member had been medically scanned without their knowledge. Your ship uses technology that is at least 30 years behind our current standards, the human reported. Your weapons could not penetrate our shields. Your engines could not outrun our slowest vessels. Your sensors could not detect our advanced stealth systems. In every measurable category, you are completely outclassed. Vexthal felt sick. The Dominion's Edge was one of the newest ships in the Hegemony fleet. It represented the cutting edge of galactic technology. If humans could dismiss it so easily, what did that say about the rest of the Hegemony's military? Furthermore, the human continued, your crew's biological and psychological profiles indicate that they have been exposed to various forms of neural conditioning, loyalty, programming, obedience enhancement, critical thinking suppression, classic tools of authoritarian control. That is impossible, Vexthal protested. We undergo standard medical examinations. Any such conditioning would be detected. Not if the people doing the examinations are also conditioned, Chun said gently. The Hegemony has been using subtle mind control techniques for centuries. Nothing dramatic or obvious, just small adjustments to make their citizens more compliant and less likely to question authority. She gestured to another display that showed brain scans of the captured crew compared to baseline human neural patterns. The differences were clear even to non-experts. Certain areas of the aliens' brains showed signs of artificial modification. Do not worry, Chun said. The conditioning can be reversed. We have developed techniques to undo the psychological damage. Several of our allied species were freed from similar programming. You are saying that the Hegemony controls our minds? Zethmar asked. All of his eyes were blinking rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. I am saying that the Hegemony has convinced you that their way is the only way, Chun replied. They have made you believe that order requires oppression, that prosperity requires inequality, that progress requires someone to be in charge of everyone else. She walked to the window and looked out at the planet below. We have proven that they are wrong. Our worlds are more prosperous than Hegemony core systems. Our people are happier and healthier. Our technology is more advanced. Our society is more stable, and we did it all without oppressing anyone. But at what cost? Vexthal asked. You live in hiding, you cannot trade openly. You cannot participate in galactic civilization. We live in freedom, Chun said. We trade with species that choose to deal with us honestly. We participate in a civilization that we built ourselves, based on principles we believe in. She turned back to face the alien crew. The question now is what to do with you. You have seen too much to simply be released. You know about our existence, our capabilities, our locations. We cannot allow that information to reach the Hegemony. Vexthal felt fear creeping up his spine. Are you going to kill us? That is one option, Chun said matter-of-factly. It would be the simplest solution. The Hegemony would assume your ship was lost to pirates or equipment failure. No one would look for you. The alien crew exchanged terrified glances. They had come here expecting to find primitive colonists or simple criminals. Instead, they had discovered a secret civilization that was more advanced than their own empire, and had no reason to let them live. However, Chun continued, we prefer a different approach. We are going to give you a choice. What kind of choice? Vexthal asked. You can undergo the deconditioning process and join our alliance, Chun sighed. We will remove the mental programming that the Hegemony implanted in your minds. You will see the galaxy as it really is, not as they want you to see it. Then you can decide for yourselves whether you want to help us build something better. And if we refuse, then you will remain here as our prisoners for the rest of your lives, Chun said. Comfortable prisoners in pleasant surroundings, but prisoners nonetheless. We will not torture you or abuse you, but you will never leave our territory. Zethmar spoke up. What about the third option? What if we undergo this deconditioning process and still choose to remain loyal to the hegemony? Chun smiled sadly. That has never happened. Once people see the truth about what the hegemony really is, they do not want to go back to serving it. She walked over to a control panel and pressed several buttons. You have 48 hours to decide. During that time, you will be given access to our historical records, our scientific data, and our cultural archives. You will see exactly what we have built and how we built it. You will meet representatives of the species that have joined our alliance and hear their stories. And then you will choose freedom or prison, truth or lies, a future worth building or a past worth forgetting. Chun headed toward the door, then stopped and looked back at them. For what it is worth, I hope you choose to join. U.S., the galaxy is a big place and there is room for everyone to be free. But that will only happen when the hegemony's stranglehold on civilization is finally broken. You are planning to attack them, Vexthal said. It was not a question. We are planning to free them, Chun replied. There is a difference. When the time comes, the hegemony will have a choice just like the one I am offering you. They can adapt to a new galaxy where they are not in control, or they can cling to their old ways and be swept aside by history. She paused at the doorway. Captain Vexthal, you seem like an intelligent being. I suggest you use these 48 hours to really think about what you have seen here. Ask yourself whether the civilization you serve is worth dying for. Ask yourself whether the principles you defend are worth preserving. After she left, the alien crew stood in silence for a long time. They were alone in the chamber with only the holographic displays and their own thoughts for company. Outside the window, the human world continued its busy work of building something new. Vexthal looked at his crew and saw his own confusion reflected in their faces. Everything they had believed about the galaxy had been turned upside down in a single day. The humans were not extinct. They were more advanced than the hegemony. They offered freedom instead of control. And worst of all, their offer was starting to sound attractive. Sir, Zethmar said quietly, what are we going to do? Vexthal did not answer. He was not sure he knew anymore. High Chancellor Mordeth sat in his private office on Nexus Prime, staring at a report that made no sense. The document had arrived 3 hours ago, through an emergency communication channel that was supposed to be used only for the most serious galactic threats. Now he was beginning to understand why the report came from Admiral Zorthan, the same officer who had investigated the human disappearance 50 years ago. According to his message, Captain Vexthal and his ship had vanished while investigating. Strange energy readings in a restricted sector. The last transmission from the Dominion's edge mentioned encountering unknown technology and possible human activity. Human activity? 50 years after humanity had supposedly destroyed itself, Mordeth pressed a button on his desk. Send for Ambassador Cathara immediately, and contact the Intelligence Division. I want their best analysts in my office within the hour. 20 minutes later, Cathara arrived looking annoyed at being summoned so suddenly. The Xanthari diplomat had been enjoying a pleasant evening at a cultural event when the urgent call came through. Her forearms moved in the gestures of irritation that her species used when they were displeased. High Chancellor, what is so important that it could not wait until morning? She asked. Mordeth handed her the report. Read this and tell me what you think. Cathara scanned the document quickly, her expression changing from annoyance to confusion to something approaching fear. When she finished reading, she looked up at Mordeth with all 4 of her eyes wide. This is impossible, she said. Humans have been extinct for 50 years. I was there when Earth disappeared. I saw the empty space where their system used to be. That is what I thought as well, Mordeth replied. But Admiral Zorthan is not given to wild fantasies. If he says there is evidence of human activity, then we must take it seriously. Even if some humans survived somewhere, Cathara said, they could not possibly have the technology described in this report. 50 years ago, they were barely capable of interstellar travel. They used primitive weapons and simple computers. They could not disable a hegemony warship without firing a shot. Mordith activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. That is what troubles me most. If humans have somehow survived and developed advanced technology, then we have seriously underestimated them. And if we underestimated them once, we may have made other mistakes as well. The door opened and 3 figures entered the office. These were senior analysts from the Hegemony Intelligence Division, the secretive organization responsible for monitoring potential threats to galactic stability. The leader was a tall, pale being called HFY from the Etherian race. His species was known for their analytical abilities and their lack of emotion. "Hi, Chancellor," HFY said in his flat, mechanical voice. "We have received your urgent request for analysis." "What information do you require?" Mordith gestured to the report. "I need you to investigate every mention of unexplained phenomena. Missing ships or unusual activities over the past 50 years. Look for patterns that might indicate human involvement. That will require accessing classified files from multiple departments," HFY said. "Many agencies will not want to share their data. They will share it if they want to keep their jobs," Mordith replied coldly. "This has the highest priority classification. Anyone who refuses to cooperate will be charged with obstruction of galactic security." The analysts left to begin their work, and Mordith was alone with Cathara again. The ambassador was reading through the report for the second time, paying closer attention to the technical details. "Hi, Chancellor," she said slowly. "There is something about this that concerns me beyond the obvious implications. The technology described here is not just advanced. It is specifically designed to counter hegemony systems." "What do you mean?" "Look at these details about how they disabled the Dominion's edge," Cathara said, pointing to a section of the report. "They did not use brute force or overwhelming firepower. They used precise electronic warfare that targeted the specific vulnerabilities in our ship designs. That suggests they have been studying our technology for years." Mordith felt a chill run through his body. "You are suggesting they have been spying on us?" "I am suggesting they have been preparing for war," Cathara replied. "Think about it logically. If a small group of humans survived their species' supposed extinction, what would be their primary goal? Revenge against the empire that drove them to such desperate measures." Before Mordith could respond, an emergency alert chimed through the office. A red light began flashing on his communications panel, indicating an urgent message from Fleet Command. "Hi, Chancellor," came the voice of Admiral Thekmer, the head of Hegemony Naval Operations. "We have a situation developing in the Outer Rim territories. 3 patrol ships have gone missing in the past week. All disappeared while investigating reports of unusual activities." "What kind of unusual activities?" Mordith asked. "Pirates. Attacking trade convoys but not stealing anything. Mysterious ships appearing and disappearing without warning. Industrial facilities reporting equipment failures that fix themselves. It is as if someone is testing our response capabilities." Mordith and Cathara exchanged glances. The pattern was becoming clearer and more disturbing. "Admiral, I want all available ships to conduct sweeps of those sectors," Mordith ordered. "And send word to all fleet commanders. Any encounter with unknown technology is to be reported immediately. No one is to engage without explicit authorization. Sir, with respect, our patrol ships are more than capable of handling pirates and smugglers. Admiral, these may not be ordinary pirates. Follow my orders exactly." The communication ended and Mordith turned back to Cathara. "How many ships do we have that could match the capabilities described in this report?" "None," she replied without hesitation. "Our most advanced vessels are designed to fight other hegemony-level civilizations. If humans have truly developed technology that can disable our ships without visible weapons, then our entire fleet is obsolete." Over the next few hours, more reports began arriving. A mining station in the Cygnus sector had detected strange energy readings, then lost contact with its orbital platforms for 6 hours. When communication was restored, the station managers reported that nothing had happened, but their computer logs showed gaps that suggested someone had been examining their systems. A diplomatic convoy traveling to negotiate a trade agreement had encountered a ship that appeared to be damaged and drifting. When they stopped to offer assistance, their own vessels had mysteriously lost power for 20 minutes. The unknown ship had vanished during that time, leaving no trace that it had ever been there. A military research facility working on new weapon designs had suffered a complete data breach, but nothing seemed to have been stolen. Security recordings showed no signs of intrusion, yet somehow every file in their database had been copied and analyzed. High Chancellor HFY reported when he returned with his analysis team, "We have found the patterns you requested, and the results are deeply troubling." The intelligence analyst activated a holographic display that showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Scattered across it were hundreds of red dots representing incidents that had been dismissed as equipment failures, pirate attacks, or natural phenomena. Over the past 50 years, there have been 1,847 unexplained incidents that fit the profile of advanced technological interference, HFY said. Initially, these occurred only in remote sectors far from major trade routes. But over time, they have moved closer to core hegemony territories. "And you believe these are all connected to human activity?" Mordith asked. "The pattern suggests systematic intelligence gathering and capability testing," HFY replied. "Someone has been studying our technology, our tactics, and our response procedures for decades. They know exactly how we operate and have developed countermeasures for our systems." Cathara studied the display. "Look at the timing. The incidents began approximately 48 years ago, just 2 years after Earth disappeared. Someone spent those first 2 years developing the technology they needed, then began their surveillance operations." "But where are they operating from?" Mordith demanded. "These incidents span half the galaxy. They would need bases, supply lines, industrial facilities. We would have detected such a large operation." "Unless they have technology that prevents detection," HFY said. "Advanced stealth capabilities, dimensional hiding techniques, or reality manipulation systems could allow them to operate undetected." The High Chancellor felt the weight of command pressing down on him. If humans had truly survived and developed such advanced technology, then the hegemony faced a threat unlike anything in their history. An enemy that could strike without warning, gather intelligence without being detected, and disable their ships without being seen. "What are our options?" he asked. "We could try to negotiate," Cathara suggested. "If humans want something from us, perhaps we can reach an agreement. With people who have been deceiving us for 50 years? Mordith replied. "What could we possibly offer them that they have not already taken or developed themselves?" "We could prepare for war," HFY said. "Upgrade our technology, strengthen our defenses, develop countermeasures for their capabilities." "How do you prepare for war against an enemy whose technology you do not understand?" Mordith asked. "How do you fight an opponent who can disable your ships with unknown weapons?" Before anyone could answer, another emergency alert sounded. This time it was from the border sectors, where hegemony space met the territories of independent systems that had never joined the Empire. "High Chancellor," came the panicked voice of Sector Governor Veltash. "We have a massive problem. 7 of our border monitoring stations have gone offline simultaneously. Our patrol fleets are reporting unknown ships throughout the region. Sir, it looks like someone is preparing for a large-scale military operation." Mordith felt his heart sinking. "Are they attacking our positions?" "No, sir. They are just watching. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands, all maintaining position just outside our territorial boundaries. They are not threatening anyone. But their message is clear." "What message?" "That they could attack if they wanted to. That they have the numbers and the technology to overwhelm our defenses." "Sir, I have never seen anything like this. Where did they all come from?" Mordith looked at the holographic display showing the incident patterns. 50 years of preparation. 50 years of intelligence gathering. 50 years of technological development. The humans had not been hiding because they were weak. They Had been hiding because they were getting ready? Governor, do not engage those ships under any circumstances, he ordered. Maintain defensive positions only. I will send reinforcements as soon as possible. The communication ended and the office fell silent. Mordith, Cathara, and Nexusvar all stared at each other, realizing that the galaxy had just changed forever. They are not trying to hide anymore, Cathara said quietly. This is their announcement that they are ready. Ready for what? Mordith asked. To finish what we started 50 years ago, she replied. We thought we had eliminated a troublesome species. Instead, we created our own worst enemy. Mordith activated his emergency communications system. Send word to all sector governors and fleet commanders. The hegemony is now at maximum alert status. No ship travels alone, no station operates without full defensive protocols, and find me every piece of information we have about human psychology and motivation. What are you planning? Cathara asked. I am trying to understand what they want, Mordith replied. Because once I know that, maybe I can figure out how to survive what is coming next. Outside his office window, the lights of Nexus Prime twinkled in the darkness. For 3,000 years, this world had been the center of galactic civilization, the seat of power for the greatest empire in known space, the symbol of order and prosperity. Now, for the first time in its history, that empire faced an enemy that might be stronger than they were. And nobody knew what the humans planned to do with their newfound power. The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime had never seen an emergency session like this one. Representatives from all 7 founding species of the hegemony sat around the massive circular table, their faces showing fear and confusion. For 3 days, reports had been flooding in from across the galaxy. Mysterious fleets appearing in every sector. Unknown ships disabling hegemony patrols without firing a shot. And always the same message, wait for instructions. High Chancellor Mordith stood at the center of the chamber, looking older than his 800 years. The stress of the past week had aged him dramatically. Around him, the most powerful beings in the galaxy argued and shouted, but none of them had any real solutions to offer. We should attack immediately, declared War. Marshal Krondois of the Gorvani military caste. His massive frame towered over the other delegates as he slammed a fist on the table. Every moment we wait, they grow stronger. We must strike before they can fully deploy whatever weapons they have been building. Attack what? Snapped Chancellor. Yixtra of the Valdorian Commerce Guild, her forearms gestured frantically as she spoke. We do not even know where their main bases are located. Our scouts report empty space where their ships appear from. It is as if they materialize from nothing. That is exactly what they are doing, said Science Coordinator Thelenas of the Etherian Research Collective. Our analysis suggests they have developed dimensional hiding technology far beyond anything we imagined possible. They could have entire civilizations existing parallel to our reality, invisible to all our sensors. Ambassador Cathara sat quietly at her designated spot, reviewing the reports that continued to arrive every few minutes. Each new message painted the same picture. Humanity was everywhere, and they were no longer hiding. High Chancellor, she said, interrupting the arguments around the table, we have received another communication. This one is different. Mordith looked at her with tired eyes. How different? It is addressed to the full Galactic Council? And, it is requesting a formal audience. The chamber fell silent. For 50 years, humanity had been assumed dead. For the past week, they had been a mysterious threat lurking in the shadows. Now they wanted to talk? Display the message, Mordith ordered. A holographic projection appeared above the center of the table. The image showed a woman in a military uniform that none of them recognized. She appeared to be human, but like the others they had encountered, she looked enhanced. Her eyes held an intelligence and confidence that was somehow intimidating. To the Galactic Council of the Hegemony, the woman said. I am Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Terran Coalition. I request permission to address your assembly in person to discuss the new realities of galactic politics. I will arrive at Nexus Prime in exactly 24 hours. I trust you will provide appropriate diplomatic courtesies. The message ended, leaving the council members staring at empty air. She did not ask for permission, War Marshal Krondois growled. She demanded it. And she did not wait for our response, Chancellor Yikstra added. She is already coming, whether we agree or not. The question is, Morda said slowly, do we allow her to land or do we order our defenses to stop her? Our defenses could not stop a single human ship, Coordinator Thelenas pointed out. According to the reports, their technology makes our weapons useless. If she wants to land here, she will land here. 24 hours later, the skies above Nexus Prime filled with ships. Not just one vessel carrying a diplomatic envoy, but hundreds of massive warships that appeared without warning in perfect formation. They took positions around the planet like pieces on a game board, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the hegemony fleet. The largest ship positioned itself directly above the capital city. It was so big that it blocked out the sun, casting the entire metropolis into artificial twilight. On its hull was a symbol that made several council members gasp in recognition, the flag of Earth, but modified with new elements that spoke of expansion and change. A single small craft detached from the massive ship and descended toward the council building. Hegemony fighters scrambled to intercept it, but their weapons would not lock on. Their targeting systems showed empty space where the ship clearly was. The craft landed in the council plaza as if the entire hegemony military did not exist. Admiral Elena Vasquez stepped out of her ship and walked toward the building entrance. She was alone, showing either supreme confidence or complete disregard for personal safety. Hegemony security forces surrounded her with weapons drawn, but she paid them no attention. "Good afternoon," she said to the guards in perfect galactic standard. "I believe you are expecting me?" Inside the council chamber, the delegates waited with a mixture of fear and curiosity. When Admiral Vasquez entered, several of them stood up instinctively. There was something about her presence that commanded respect, even from beings who ruled entire sectors of space. "Honored delegates," she said, walking to the center of the chamber. "Thank you for agreeing to see me." "We did not agree to anything," War Marshal Krondois said. "You forced your way here with threats and displays of military power." Admiral Vasquez smiled. "I prefer to think of it as making a strong first impression. After 50 years of being ignored, we wanted to make sure we had your full attention." "You have it," Morda said. "Now explain what you want." "What we want is very simple," Admiral Vasquez replied. "We want the hegemony to stop pretending it rules the galaxy." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several delegates shouted insults or threats. Others demanded to know who humans thought they were to make such demands. Admiral Vasquez waited patiently for the noise to die down. "Let me clarify our position," she continued once the room was quiet again. "For 50 years you believed humanity was extinct. During that time, we built a civilization that spans 147 star systems and includes 18 different species. Our technology is generations ahead of yours. Our military could destroy your entire fleet without losing a single ship. Our economy produces more goods and services than your core worlds. In every measurable way, we have surpassed you." "Impossible," Chancellor Yikstra said. "No civilization could develop so rapidly in such a short time. No civilization operating under hegemony rules could develop so rapidly," Admiral Vasquez corrected. "But we were not operating under your rules. We were free to innovate, to explore, to grow without artificial limitations imposed by a central authority that feared change." She gestured to the air, and holographic displays appeared showing human colonies, industrial complexes, and technological achievements. The images were overwhelming in their scope and sophistication. "This is what is possible when intelligent beings are allowed to reach their full potential," she said. "This is what you have been preventing for 3,000 years by maintaining your stranglehold on galactic development." Coordinator Thelenas studied the displays with professional interest. "These technologies should not be possible. The energy requirements alone would exceed the output of entire star systems. You are thinking in terms of old paradigms, Admiral Vasquez replied. We learned to harness zero-point energy, to manipulate matter at the quantum level, to fold space and time to our purposes. We did not just advance existing technology, we created entirely new fields of science. And you did this in secret? Ambassador Cathara said. You deceived the entire galaxy for 50 years. We protected ourselves, Admiral Vasquez said, just as you would have done in our position. The hegemony made it clear that it saw humanity as a threat to be controlled or eliminated. So we eliminated ourselves from your perspective while we prepared for this day. What day? Mordeth asked. What are you planning? Admiral Vasquez turned to face him directly. We are planning to give you the same choice you gave us 50 years ago. Submit to our authority or face the consequences. The chamber fell dead. Silent. The reversal was complete and brutal. The species that had once been dismissed as primitive, troublemakers, was now dictating terms to the greatest empire in galactic history. You cannot be serious, War Marshal Krondoy said. The hegemony has ruled space for 3 millennia. We have fleets, armies, industrial bases across hundreds of worlds. You may have advanced technology, but you do not have the numbers to control the entire galaxy, do we not? Admiral Vasquez asked. She touched a device on her wrist, and new displays appeared showing the true scope of human expansion. Star charts revealed human presence in every sector of known space. Industrial statistics showed production levels that dwarfed hegemony capabilities. Military assessments revealed fleet strengths that made the council members sick with fear. For 50 years, we have been your neighbors, your trading partners, your allies, and your enemies, all without you knowing it, Admiral Vasquez explained. We have been the mysterious pirates who disrupted your trade routes when they became too exploitative. We have been the unknown benefactors who provided aid to species suffering under your rule. We have been the technical consultants who sold you improved designs for your own equipment. You have been manipulating galactic politics for decades, Cathara realized. We have been participating in galactic politics, Admiral Vasquez corrected. The difference is that we were not operating from a position of weakness. Every trade agreement you signed, every military deployment you planned, every diplomatic initiative you launched, we knew about it. We influenced it when it served our purposes and countered it when it threatened our interests. She walked slowly around the chamber, making eye contact with each delegate. You wanted us gone because you thought we were dangerous when we were weak and primitive. Now we are strong and advanced. How dangerous do you think we are now? What do you want from us? Mordeth asked quietly. We want you to accept the new reality, Admiral Vasquez said. The age of hegemony dominance is over. From now on, galactic affairs will be managed by the Terran Coalition, with input from all species that choose to participate freely. And if we refuse? Admiral Vasquez stopped walking and smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Then you will discover what happens. When you oppose a civilization that had 50 years to prepare for this conversation. As if summoned by her words, the lights in the chamber dimmed. Through the windows, the delegates could see the massive human fleet spreading out across the sky. But these were not the same ships that had arrived earlier. These were larger, more numerous, and clearly built for war. How many ships do you have? Coordinator Thelenas asked in a whisper. Enough, Admiral Vasquez replied. But I prefer not to use them. Military conquest is inefficient and destructive. We would rather achieve our goals through negotiation and cooperation. Cooperation on your terms, War Marshal Krondoy said. Cooperation on fair terms, Admiral Vasquez corrected. Terms that benefit everyone instead of just the powerful. Terms that encourage growth instead of stagnation. Terms that reward innovation instead of punishing it. She touched her wrist device again, and the displays changed to show detailed proposals for galactic reorganization. New trade systems that benefited smaller species. Scientific sharing agreements that accelerated technological development. Military arrangements that protected everyone instead of just hegemony interests. This is what we are offering, she said. A galaxy where every species has a voice. where resources are shared based on need rather than power, where exploration and discovery are rewarded instead of restricted. And if some species prefer the current system? Chancellor Yxtra asked. Then they are free to maintain it within their own territories, Admiral Vasquez said, but they will not be allowed to impose it on others. The age of galactic empires ruling through fear and exploitation is over. High Chancellor Mordith looked around the chamber at his fellow delegates. He could see the truth in their faces. They were defeated before the battle had even begun. Humanity had outplayed them completely, turning their own arrogance and complacency against them. How long do we have to consider your proposal? He asked. The proposal is not for consideration, Admiral Vasquez said. It is information about how things will work from now on. The only choice you have is whether you want to participate in building this new galaxy or whether you want to be left behind, while everyone else moves forward. She headed toward the chamber exit, then stopped and looked back at them one final time. 50 years ago, you told us that humanity had no place in galactic civilization, she said. You were right. We had no place in your civilization. So we built our own. Now you get to decide whether you have a place in ours. Admiral Vasquez left the chamber, and within minutes, her ship was heading back to the massive fleet above. The human vessels began to disappear one by one, fading from sight as if they had never been there. But everyone knew they were still watching, still waiting, still ready to enforce the new order they had announced. In the council chamber, the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat in stunned silence. The empire they had built over 3 millennia had just been peacefully conquered by the species they had dismissed as irrelevant. And the worst part was that humanity's offer was actually better than what the hegemony had been providing. The age of human dominance had begun, not with conquest and destruction, but with the simple demonstration that there was a better way to organize galactic civilization. Earth had closed its doors 50 years ago. Now humanity had opened them again, and everything had changed.